never advocate for that. I'm specifically saying that that mentality is the recipe for divorce. That is the recipe for a broken home. And people may not care about a broken home, but in the previous answer, I told you my reason for why I set my relationship up that way. It is because I don't want to have a broken home, right? And he's
But
gotten the results of what he's saying.
but
He
Kiss,
literally is living the results of that ideology.
but you set
That's
your
why I
goal.
made the correlation.
But also, when you were saying earlier, you made sure that your home wasn't going to be broken because of your
Mm-hmm,
past experience. So you
mm-hmm.
thought that before you even I'm speculating you thought that before you came to the conclusion where I have to love my kids that I never met more than I love myself. You had a goal that you were going to reach no matter what because you're not going to be defeated. I don't know if this part had anything to do with that.
Wait, rephrase that.
I'm saying you driven, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
knew based on your experience growing up that you weren't gonna perpetuate that. So that was before all this loving them more than this, that, and the third. You knew what your goal was and you reached it.
Well, so part of me reaching that goal was I did like so one of the super chats earlier was talking about identifying things within people. So the way my brain works is I identify similar mentalities behind people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could meet somebody wife and I'd be like, oh yeah, this ain't gonna work because X, Y, and Z. And one of the things that I would identify within people and relationships that will falter and break apart was that selfishness, right? And that does not mean that you can't love yourself, right? That selfishness right there places things above the order of how you want to set up your family structure. That's for people who care about a family. If you don't want to have a family and you just, like I said, if it's temporary, then that works perfectly. But if you want permanence, that's not going to work. That's
But
that's my point.
I guess my last pushback, I don't even know what this pushback, but here's what I'm thinking. There's a book I read that says love your wife as you love yourself, right? So it's an equality there. It's not more specifically because if you love her how you love yourself, you wouldn't do things to her that you wouldn't do to yourself. That's why loving yourself is so important.
I fucks with that.
I think that
That makes
we
sense.
I think that we have a problem. Like, I feel like in society, the way that we look at self love, it really just shows the fact that I feel like a lot of us are accustomed to people pleasing. I'm just going to be honest, and asserting their boundaries because it's it's a difference between. Oh, wait a minute! You said that you have abandoned. Like, never mind. I'm just remembering something that you said that had nothing. So I feel like the way we are raised and whatever situation we've been through, whatever relationships we have with our parents, whether your mom or your dad, whatever relationship you have, you may develop some type of insecure attachment where you feel like the best way to operate in a relationship is loving a person more than yourself. And that's not healthy. That's not healthy. I feel like that's very no, hold on. I feel like that's very codependent and that's not a good thing. It's a difference between being selfish and self-full and making sure, like what he was saying in the video, making sure that you're having enough love within yourself so that you can operate in a space where you're the best that you can be for yourself, because nobody wants to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't, like, no one wants to be in a relationship with someone where they feel like this person needs them to survive. No one wants a partner like that. No one wants that partner like that. Like, let's be honest. If a person is gonna sit here and let you treat them however way you want to, because you know they don't, you know they're not going nowhere. Like, we start to take people like that for granted. So I feel like we're just like, I feel like a lot of, okay. That's it. That's all I was just gonna
Can
say.
you relate with Jesus? I can relate with Jesus.
Go ahead, Lady Da.
I just had a question for Andrea. Why does it have to be so like negative at the end? Like you're saying, like the worst case scenarios. Like when I'm talking, I'm only talking about like good relationships and stuff. You're talking about like fucked up ones.
I don't think I'm talking about a fucked up relationship. I'm talking about the situation about a divorce. Nobody, like the video said, he didn't bring up divorce. He didn't bring up walking away from a family. He didn't bring up separating from a home. But those are the type of conversations that are happening because we're talking about loving ourselves more than someone else. And I'm
No,
just out the fact that that's not healthy. It's not healthy. That's codependency. And I feel like we have these learned behaviors through our own experiences in childhood where we think people pleasing is how we get people to stay. That's not just because you're getting a person to stay doesn't mean that it's a healthy situation. That's all that I'm saying. Like, regardless if it's like something extreme or in small ways where you can exert your boundaries because you're fearful of upsetting this person and making like it's small, but it shows up in relationships a lot of different ways that overall just probably wouldn't be healthy.
I like what you said, Andrea.
So
I think what you're
oh,
saying is correct. And
so
I
you're
think
saying that Marcus explained how he quote unquote loves other people, like his family, more than himself. So you would consider his relationship fucked up?
No, I'm speaking about like not like this.
But we're talking about him though. You know, he said it.
No,
you know?
listen, you're not really listening. I'm not speaking about the family. Like, that's what I'm saying. You have to, before you get to a family, you have to be in a relationship. Like, or you have to have some type of camaraderie between two people before you're pregnant. You know what I'm saying? Like, before you're married, whatever. You have to have those, you have to develop a relationship with someone. And if you're operating in a relationship with a fear that they're going to leave you, and so you're loving them more than yourself, it's codependency. And that's
why I said Marcus explained sort of that what you just said. So I'm asking you, do you think his relationship is fucked up? Can I say that? I'm sorry, JR. That's messed up. Do you think his relationship is messed up?
I can't speak for that because I don't know anything about his relationship. I'm not involved. I don't know his partner. I don't know anything about how he operates in relationships. But what I can say is that speaking from a person who has had to learn how to undo abandonment trauma, I realized that when you're dealing with trauma like abandonment issues, speaking for myself, you have to not tap into people pleasing. And I'm not saying that this is what Marcus is doing. I'm not speaking on him at all. I'm just speaking in reference to some of the things that we, just discussed amongst each other whenever. All I'm saying is that we operate in relationships with a certain fear of a person walking away. And so we do things like lower our standards or our boundaries or just not loving ourselves enough to say, hey, this might not work. Does that make any sense?
I'm gonna just say this real quick and you can have that, Marcus. You're saying like all negative stuff still. Like I'm saying, quote unquote, Marcus said these things and he didn't say nothing negative and you going back to negative. So I'm trying to like understand the disconnect as far as why does it have to be bad? There's people who love their family more than love themselves and it's not toxic.
I don't think you're hearing what I'm saying.
I'm hearing what you're saying. I don't think you're hearing what you're saying.
You're hearing what I'm saying. In the video, he was specifically talking about a woman loving herself enough to just a woman loving herself more than him, specifically within the relationship. I'm not thinking about if there's kids involved, if there's family involved, if they're married, because I recognize that even when you are having your own, like once you guys are married and, you guys took that step, you guys have to act on one accord. I'm speaking to the things that lead up to a happy relationship. That's what I'm referring to. So when we're speaking about negativity, I think that there's a negative connotation around words like codependency because we don't really understand what that is. It's not like it's a negative or a positive. It's just what the facts are. If you're operating in a space where you love someone more than yourself, that's not good. It's not about a negative thing or me trying to put something negative. Codependency is just not healthy. It's not healthy. And
I don't think.
Well, we got to start the transition. Let's get Marcus and Sweeney in, and then we'll go ahead and transition. Jasmine will come to you next on the next one.
All these things tie together. When I initially talked about the relationship, right? When I was explaining how to set it up, I do this. Sweeney, have you ever seen me look like I'm in a bad mood or like I'm fighting with my wife or like anything is going wrong?
Not at all.
JR, it's been a long time. Have you ever even seen me look like I got any family troubles? If you, Casey, come on the platform all the time, she'd tell you my wife is extremely happy. So maybe that's the part of the previous question. When you know better, you'll do better. Because I'm speaking from a place of two people that are healed, reciprocating energy. And that type of love is self-sacrifice because you love the other person more than it's a cyclical way that relationship will work in a positive spectrum.